feels at times down there so difficult, and you can feel so far off fish, and it's so busy. It just feels like you're never going to catch anything, and then like we're away. Oh Jesus, we got another bite. Everything can just turn around in like seconds. Your whole mindset, your whole demeanour, everything just changes from going home 1 second to having the best trip of your lifetime almost. You have joined me here today on Sandmartin Lake on the wonderful Bluebell complex. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've fished the complex on and off for probably 11, 12 years now, and I've driven past Sandmartin at least 100 times without even looking at it. But in the last year or so, it's really come onto my radar because there is a very, very big common in here called Tilly that's well over £50. Ever since that started coming out at a big weight, I've sort of had my eye on this place. And I've had my first trip down here back end of last year in September, and I've had an absolute blinding trip, to be fair. I've set up in a swim called the Cobbles, and there was quite a lot of fish showing in front of it, and I've made the most of it, and I've ended up with about 14 fish, I think I ended up with, in 530s to upper 30s, a nice, real nice big fat common that was upper 30s. So it was a really, really good way to get off the mark and open my account, and that sort of got me hooked really. Sometimes you need a really nice session to start off with to sort of get your juices flowing and get you wanting to come back. We planned on filming down here the following week, but if anyone remembers, in September we had torrential rain for days and days and days on end, and it ended up with the complex flooding, and they ended up closing the complex completely, and it took quite a while to sort of recover from that. I did have one trip once the lakes reopened. A couple of weeks later I came down and had another go on Sandmartin, done a couple of nights on there. Nothing happened. The water level was up really high, and the fish weren't very active, and I just blanked basically. I did nick a bite on a zig, but lost it. And that was that for the year really. Hadn't managed to get down in spring, and we're now in May, which for me on any lake is absolutely prime time. So I've got down Saturday late afternoon after work, and as you can imagine, the lakes are fairly busy. There weren't much options. There's one little swim in the middle of the road bank that was empty in between a couple of anglers, and the swim I'm in now was empty as well. I quite fancied an area down in the corner. I think everyone had their eyes on the corner. Everyone knew that the wind was going to pick up and push into this corner. Bit of shallow water in Tilly, the big common, is well renowned for getting caught out of that corner. So everyone's sort of queuing up to get in there. So that was out of the question. But I've dropped in a swim next door. I knew that it was a little bit shallower out in front of here. And although I'd not fished in here before, so I didn't quite know exactly like how deep it was or where the shelf ended or anything. Basically I had a good plumb around, and what I've got in front of me is this 10 foot for quite a long way out. Well, I say quite a long way out, for about 40 yards, and then all of a sudden it drops straight down over a 2 rod length period, straight down to 20 foot. So at sort of 40 yards out, I'm fishing in 10 foot of water, just on the top of the shelf basically before it slopes off. And a bit more about the lake really. So pretty much all of the lake is 20 foot deep. Now in my mind I'm thinking I do not want to be fishing in 20 foot of water in May when all the fish are going to be up in the water. So to find shallower water, I knew that you've got that 40-yard strip in front of this bank, the shallow, and then you've got like certain margin areas that can be quite good, namely in most of the corners, but they were all taken. So I've dropped in here 40 yards out, and it's 10 foot deep, which although it is still quite deep, it's a damn sight better than the 20 foot that the rest of the lake is. So I'm not too disappointed to drop in here considering how busy the lake was. So I've got in here, I've dropped 3 rods out onto the spot. The swims are a little bit tight, so I've decided to fish just one spot, which I quite enjoy doing anyway, 3 on a spot. And it was a lovely spot, really nice gravelly, right on the top of that shelf. And I've put like 3 or 4 kilos in to start with. And much to my surprise, there was a few fish started showing in the evening in front of me. And I've had my first bite probably a couple of hours after getting set up. And yes, I've got my first fish of the year out of Sandmartin. And that fish was a lovely, gorgeous mid-20 common. So it was a really nice way to start the session. And thought could well be on for a few more that evening because there was a few fish showing, but nothing else materialised. And then the fish seemed to back off that shallow area out into the middle, sort of on darkness. And that was that really. In the morning I woke up, it was pretty quiet, not a lot really showing anywhere. And the sun come up really early and it got really hot. And I put a few floaters out in front of me, nothing was taken. So I decided to wind in and go for a wander. And I headed up the road bank. There was a couple of swims empty out there. So I got up there, put a few spoms out, managed to get a few fish taken and whizzed a controller out to them as you do. And I sort of turned around to look to see what was going on around the lake. And then I heard a big eruption and bang, I was in. Like, I couldn't believe it. First cast, probably been out there 30 seconds on the top. And yeah, I was into a fish. It hooked himself, which is always nice when that happens. And yeah, big battle on that one. Took me quite a while to get in, and up popped a nice upper 20 mirror. So that was a sort of well worth winding in and going for a wander. There was quite a few people who turned up. It's Sunday morning now, so a lot of people were turned up walking around with buckets looking for a swim. So I gave the swim to someone who was walking around looking for a swim and come back round to here. And I left the swim for a couple of hours, just rested it for a bit, and then the wind started to pick up about midday and it looked really sock on, to be fair. So I've got the rods back out, rebaited with a bit more bait and sat there, and it looked really good. The wind was pumping in here and I was sort of expecting the fish to just turn up on the end of the wind in the afternoon. It just didn't happen. The day was just absolutely dead. And to be honest, if I wasn't filming, I could have actually quite happily have gone home because it looked that dead. But, you know, I kept the faith. And then late on in the evening, about, I don't know, 7:30, I just seen one show like 20 yards off the back of the bait. And I thought that was sort of close enough to feel like we're in the game. Then another one showed, then another one showed a little bit closer. And all of a sudden, it's going into the evening and I'm sat there rubbing my hands, and then inevitably I've had the take on the left-hander. Now, one thing I will say is I've got yellow's my favourite colour, yellow Northern Special. You can't go wrong, double plastic corn, can't go wrong. And I've caught loads of fish on a yellow hook bait in my life, but in this occasion I put one out on a pink Northern Special and the other two on yellow. And it was the pink one that had gone, and it was the pink one that had gone the day before as well. So that was something that was playing in my mind. Anyway, so the rods tanked off in the evening. It was a real steady battle. Like, it's one of them where you try and pull it and it just doesn't budge.
Kev's into a carp, 2 bream, and now he's got a carp on. This boy don't mess about.
And I knew that it was a good fish right from the off. And Archie was with me, and as I was playing it, it just had all the characteristics of a big fish fight. It just stayed deep. Oh, and we're away. With a bream. I don't even know if it's a bream or a carp. I ain't gonna lie. It's kited too much to be a bream. It's not fighting very hard for a carp. Nah, it's a carp. Gotta be a carp. Gotta be. Well, I thought it was a bream at first, but if it is a bream, it's a world record bream, let me tell you. Because it's actually started fighting now. Oh, look at that, beautiful linear. He's come in like a bream all the way, and now we don't want to give up. I reckon he's seen my ugly mug and he's like, nah, I don't want my photograph taken with him. Just nailed in the bottom lip. In the back of the net. Lovely. Lovely job. Love it when it goes on the money first chuck. Oh mate, that's a half decent fish. 31.4. Well, we were just doing a catch-up piece to camera and I was rudely interrupted by what I thought was a bream. Well, ain't bad for a bream, is it? 31 4 ounce linear. That'll do very nicely. Oh, it's unbelievable fish. That'll do beautifully. Let's get her back. Oh, wow. Oh, rudely interrupted. Thought it was a bream, but yeah, what a fish that turned out to be. That'll do nicely. So where were we? So yeah, I've just hooked into this fish and Archie's with me and he's staying deep and we knew it was a big one. And halfway through, I just mentioned the word cluster, which is the big mirror in here. And deep down, I knew it was a big one. I really did. And as is sort of like coming closer, the water is gin clear. And I've just seen a huge framed mirror, sort of like deep down, just come straight across the front of the swim. And Archie called it. He said that's cluster. And I'm thinking, I don't know the lake stock very well, and I've seen photos of cluster, but I've never really studied it to recognise it when I was playing it. But I was thinking, like, there's not loads of big mirrors in here, and that mirror looked big that just swam past, like down deep. And it plodded around and it took a little while, and as it's come up and into there, I knew it was a big one and it could only be one fish. Oh, that'll do. Oh, that is a kipper. Look at that.
Cluster.
You reckon?
So we're down in Kev's swim. He's had 2 bream today and he's had a bite out of the blue. We've just sat there thinking, oh, we got to move on, do we need to move? And he's had a bite and he's playing it and he's gone, it might be cluster. And
Felt like a good one.
felt like a good one. And it is cluster. This boy, man, I tell you,
Size of it.
big fish, 40 pounder for sure. Look at that.
Go on, cluster.
This boy is something else, isn't he? Eh?
And Archie's looked into the net and he's confirmed it was cluster. So it's the biggest mirror in the lake, the second biggest fish in the lake. The only fish bigger is the big common, which we've mentioned, Tilly, the one that most people are after. But I'll tell you what, cluster, what a fish that is. It's got some mega scales on one of the sides, got obviously a little cluster of scales in his middle, big plated scales as well, really dark, big shoulders, a big belly. It was immaculate. Like, the mouth was mega. It was one of the most perfect carp you'll ever see. And we've hoisted it up, got it onto the scales, and Archie's confirmed it. It's 44, it's 44.8, 44.9 even. 44 pounds and 9 ounces. So we're dooming and glooming in the afternoon. I'm ready to sort of go home and just seeing a couple of fish show near the bait and it rips off, and I've got the biggest mirror in the lake in my net. Look at the size of that, what a fish that is. Wow, how about that for the biggest mirror in the lake, cluster. One last look. Let's get her back. Thank you very much. Yes, get it in. So that was an unreal how the events unfolded. So that was mega. Third trip on here and I've got the big mirror. So, you know, need to get back down here and have a go for that big common. Like, I can't let that one slip through the nets. So that was that. I've rebaited, got the rigs back out, and at some point during the night I've had another take, and this time it was an upper 20 mirror, and it big plated scales all across it. And It was starting to rain. I was absolutely knackered. Archie was next door. He was absolutely knackered. So I thought about setting up the self takes, but in the end I was that knackered. I just took a little video of it on the mat and slipped that one back and got back into bed. And that was that for the night. So I woke up in the morning and the conditions had changed and it just felt different, and it felt like it was going to be a much better day. Well, couple of fish have just rocked up and we've got them feeding off the top. I've got to admit, I was a little bit lucky with this one. Flicked out the controller and I just took my eyes off of it for a second, heard a bit of a splash, looked round, saw a swirl, struck, more in hope than anything. There was actually a fish on, so yes, we've got another one off the top. Quite lucky really, because normally it takes me about 30 bites off the top to actually connect with one and get one hooked up, but this trip so far I've actually had 2 takes off the top and hooked both of them, so yeah, I'm on a right bit of luck at the moment. Full of beans at the moment, these fish. Not bad common. Oh, she's in the net. Oh. That will do nicely. Little tiny mouth on it, look, just hooked in the side there. Done well to hook that one with such a small mouth. Hook just falls out on a barbless. Look at that, lovely common. Well, there we go. Not the biggest of commons in the lake, but it's a pretty one. All those fish off the top, they're well worth their weight in gold. I love catching them off the top. Oh, he's come. I thought he'd come. What happened there? Oh, he's on. Wow, the wind was just starting to pick up and we're floater fishing, and floater fishing sort of felt like it was coming to an end. The fish had stopped taking and just completely out of the blue, the bottom rod's just ripped off. Absolutely ripped me down the lake, stripped loads of line, which probably means there's a smaller fish, but it's midday. Had fish troughing off the top and the bottom rod goes. That's absolutely crazy. Oh. Come on. Big black mirror. Look at that, real dark fish. Yes, go on, she's in the net. Look at that, look how dark it is. Big orangey, look how orangey it is. Nailed, hook's never coming out there. Wow, she's a little beauty, really dark fish, and a bonus fish I would say, because the floater fishing was just coming to the end, middle of the day, and the bottom rod's just ripped off completely out of the blue, and it's a little banger, really dark scaly one, sort of really typical of the fish in this lake, and really pleased to have caught that one. Oh Jesus, we got another bite. See you later. It is going off. Literally just recast that rod as well. Just sorting out that fish. And the left-hander is tanked off the bait again. Like that wind's pushing in here, lovely. It really does look like good conditions now for a bite or two. The best is looked all trip, to be honest. Absolutely melted off. But you think I've just put like near 4 or 5 kilos of bait out then. It's gone in what, 10 minutes? That's what can be achieved when you've got decent bait. It's not they just want to eat and put it in the right place. Now we've got to have like 20 minutes of a fish swimming round under me rod tips trying to get them in because they're all turbocharged. Go on. Look how nailed he is, like the whole Ronnie is like in his mouth. Never going to have a hook pull in a million years. I'm going to tank out a bit more bait. It's got a bit of a gut to it. Well, there we go. Another beautiful mirror from Sandmartin. We were just filming the last fish on the bottom at midday and literally just about to slip it back and the rod's ripped off with this one. So the wind's just started pumping in here. It's looking really good for a bite or two. But I'll tell you what, we're going to slip this one back and let's take a look at the bait that's doing the business for me this trip. See ya. So we've just slipped back that grey leathery mirror and things are going rather well on the fish in front. It's really starting to come together. So now's probably a good time to take a closer look at the bait that we're using. So similar to what I use a lot of the time on my day ticket mix, I start off by putting a big dollop of sweet corn. I actually buy frozen to start with, but I always carry quite a few tins as spare just in case the fishing kicks off and I need a little bit extra. Next, I'll add the hemp into the mix. I freshly cook that up and quite often I'll cook up a big batch in a big Burco boiler. Oh, and we got another bite. Oh, that's got 12 £, common written all over it. Definitely switched on today. It is a totally different day to yesterday, without a doubt. It is booting off, just how we like it. Oh, so full of beans. Not going to give up, is it? Never seen fish just rolling around like that. Oh, look at that two-tone common. Yes! Oh, look at that. That is what you call a fish of two halves. Well, this trip is turning out to be utter carnage today. Just talking about the bait, knocking up a mix, and my rod has ripped off again. So I've finished making up the mix and I've just dropped a drop the rod back out on the spot, and I've just baited up with the bait boat over the top. And where were we? So yeah, so I was just saying that I've got a big Burko at home, and I cook up a load of hemp in that, and I freeze it all down into sort of little buckets, so I've got enough for each trip. So once the hemp's in the mix, that just keeps them grubbing around for ages. Really oily, full of attraction. I wouldn't go anywhere fishing without hemp. Next into the mix, I've got the Halibut Ultra Mix pellets. Really nice mixture of pellets, all different sizes in there. Again, keeps the fish grubbing round, leaks off loads of attraction and loads of oils. The fish absolutely love it. And lastly, I've got 10mm boilies that I'm adding to the mix. Pro Stim liver for me. Been using it for a couple of years now. Absolutely love it. It is so potent. The food signal that it leaks off must be so attractive to carp, and is so soft and digestible that they absolutely love it. So plenty of 10mm in the mix to keep them grubbing around. Then I get some handfuls of 15mm, and I just crush them up into my hand, and then just crush some between my fingers as well, just so that you've got a bit of boilie crumb in there, a few chops, halves, again, lots of different sizes. Give it a mix up. I've just popped it into the bait boat and dropped it out there. And let's have a quick look at this fish I've got in the net, and it's another special one. Wow, what a way to end the trip with the magnificent two-tone common from Sandmartin. It's been an epic trip. Yesterday it was dead and it almost felt like I should be going home. And then in the evening, I've just had that one bite, and it was a special one. The biggest mirror in the lake, cluster at 44 9 ounce. And then today it's been really unexpected. Like, it's 25 degrees out here, the wind's pumping in here, and I'm catching them in 10 foot of water off the bottom in the middle of the day. So it's been an epic trip, and I just can't wait to get back down here and have a go at catching that big 50-pound common tilly. Watch this space.